There are two kinds of people in this world. The people who fail to do what they know they should, and those who keep doing things they know they shouldn't. Guess what? You're both. Hi, I'm your host, life and business coach, Marcy Barker, aka your loving kick in the pants. In this podcast, I'll teach you the 6 steps of my accountability code that will help you wake up with clarity and show up with aligned action steps that make follow through easy and peaceful. All right, let's jump in.
Hello, my beautiful people. Okay, it's been a long time coming. Guess what today is? It is the season 2 recap. And you're probably like, Marcy, I didn't even know we were in season 2. And you guys, it's because we've done 40 episodes since the last season recap. And when I started my podcast, I told my podcast manager, I just want to be consistent. That's all I really care about right now. We don't have to get into the nitty-gritty of seasons and patterns and guests and all of that. And you know what? We hit the goal of being consistent. I think this is actually like episode 52. I'm hoping that's the right answer with me saying that. But I'm really excited to go through a season recap because I feel like this is a perfect time for you to get out your paper and pencil and take notes on which podcast episodes you want to revisit. Or if you're new here and this is one of the first episodes you're listening to without listening to the previous 51 episodes, this will help you know which ones are going to be worth your time based on what we talk about. So let's dive in. All right, we're starting with episode 21. It is Work-Life Balance with Gina Nunez, and this is a really good episode if you have children and you're trying to build a business. Gina is a really good example of making that happen. Episode 22, Creating Honest Friendships with Amber Myers. Amber is my best friend, and we had a really good conversation about what it means to use the term best friend and how that requires you to be willing to open up and letting go of past friendships that have hurt you in the past. Episode 23, Overcoming Resistance with Love, Acceptance, and Respect with Elle Pace. This is a really, really good story about testing your judgments and your biases against people that you don't know. Episode 24, Bringing the Confident Vibes with Leah. This is the first of a 4-episode stretch where I brought all of my daughters on the podcast. So those ones, you can tell which kids like the limelight and which ones don't, but Bringing the Confident Vibes with Leah is definitely a manifestation of Leah. And it's fun if you need a little boost of confidence because Leah can give it to you. Episode 25, How to Handle Anger and Stress with Liz. Liz is currently my 11-year-old, and we talk about some things that you can do from a parent's perspective and understanding your kid a little bit better on the things that they're going through. Episode 26 is Decisions and Goals with Lexi. Lexi was like, why in the world are you making me do a podcast? I don't want to do this. And I'm glad we documented it. But Lexi, we worked through the accountability code with some of the things that she's thinking about doing. So that's a good one to let your kids know that there is a process for helping them make decisions. Because as a parent, I know that sometimes we want to make all the decisions for our kids, but you guys, it gets pretty draining if you take on that responsibility. So introducing the accountability code with your kids is really awesome. Episode 27, Inside the Mind of a Teenager, Exploring Homeschooling Popularity and More with Layla. Layla is my oldest. She's currently 15, and that's a really good conversation about understanding what it's like for teens these days. I recommend that one if you have kids. Episode 28, Healing After Trauma, A Story of Resilience and Forgiveness with Shaylee Sorensen. This one was crazy. Spoiler alert. I talk about it in the beginning of the episode. Shaylee witnessed her dad murder her mom, and the ability she has had to forgive in that situation is amazing. And that story is a really good one if you are dealing with a little bit of resentment or hate towards somebody in your life. Episode 29, Unleashing Your Authentic Brand, How Updating Your Online Presence Can Transform Your Business with April Hyatt. April Hyatt, since we recorded that was like our first major interaction with each other. April is like in my corner. I recommend her for everything, and she's just very smart about what she does. So give that one a listen if you're like, I don't even have a great website. That you are not alone. Episode 30, Mastering Your Finances, Money Management for Entrepreneurs with Beth Ann McMerrick. This one was a really awesome episode where I kind of let you into some financial secrets I've had in my business. And it was really eye-opening for me and for a lot of my clients to listen to that one. So I encourage you to get clear with how you feel about your money, because that makes a difference in how you bring it in. Episode 31, building a thriving business while prioritizing self-care and family. This one was really good with Angie, and she runs a successful business and has been doing it for years and years and has mastered that ability to put yourself first so that your business can really thrive. Episode 32 is mastering discipline and building structures for lasting change. This is with Dre Baldwin. He is, to this day, the only man I've ever had on the podcast, and he's written a lot of books about really going out and doing what you know you need to do without any excuses. Definitely more of the masculine conversation if you like that. Episode 33 is a fun one with Taylor Proctor. It's called The Power of Self-Reflection, Discovering Your Strengths and Expanding Your Abilities. That's a good one because we talk about a lot of the tests you can take that tell you about your personality and your strengths. And Taylor and I go way back, so that was just a really fun conversation. Episode 34, Navigating the Intersection of Spirituality and Coaching, Unveiling Hidden Truths with Naomi Haig. That's a fun one too if you are more on the hippie, spiritual, intuitive side, because Naomi believes that all of us are like that. And really, if you're utilizing the accountability code, you probably understand the power of tapping into what you're feeling on the inside. Okay. Then we shift when we go into episode 35. This is where I just started doing a ton of solo episodes because I wanted to just talk about the things that I was seeing in my very active Facebook community. And I wanted to get very specific with teaching you something actionable on the spot, since this is a podcast about accountability. So episode 35 has become a very popular episode. It is called Building a Successful Business, Mastering the Art of Sharing Value. And this is a podcast I will send to tons of people who are inaccurately utilizing a Facebook group for business. So sharing value has become a really important topic. So that's a good one. I recommend that one. I send it to people all the time. Episode 36 is From Turnoffs to Turn-Ons, Navigating the World of Advertising. And this is where I began to pull submissions from people on social media because I want to give a wide variety of how people think and feel about how people are running businesses in today's world. Episode 37, Navigating Reviews, Embracing Feedback for Business Growth. This one was a really fun one because I got my first 1-star review on my podcast, and it was, I guess I could spoil it a little bit. It was somebody who had a problem with another one of the episodes I did. And if you read the review, it's just ridiculous. But that's a really fun one to talk about, taking your reviews seriously, but at the same time letting go of reviews that are just not accurate, or questions to ask when you're leaving reviews, getting reviews, all that great stuff. Episode 38, From Self-Promotion to Genuine Connection. This is kind of like piggybacking on episode 35, because in episode 38, we talk about navigating social media with intention. And this one is really important if you feel like you're not getting any business from social media. That's going to be a good one for you to listen to.
Hey listeners, the message of waking up and showing up is yours for the taking. In fact, it's free. I've recorded my entire audiobook and I'd love for you to consume it between episodes. Head to marcybarker.com to get instant access to the accountability code Wake Up and Show Up. All right, let's jump back in.
Episode 39, Decisions Unveiled, Exploring Would You Rather Scenarios in Business. And this one was also a submission episode where I pulled comments from social media to talk about making decisions in your business, where a lot of times we're faced with decisions and it's like we have to kind of give and take. And that was a fun one that you can also ask yourselves those would you rather questions. Episode 40, From Complaints to Conversions. This one was totally recorded because of somebody who would not stop complaining on social media. So I made this episode. If they ever ask me for help, I'm going to send this episode to them. It's also a really good episode that you can just send your friends if they kind of get in a pity party. So that's called From Complaints to Conversions, Elevating Your Sales Game. That one I also pulled submissions from because there's a lot of great feedback that people have if you feel like you're getting into a pity party about your ability to sell. All right, episode 41 is Mastering Self-Accountability, Strategies for Staying on Track and Achieving Goals. That obviously is a really good episode if you're just like, I need to get back on track. Let me implement a few of these little tips that are going to help me streamline my abilities and my tasks. Episode 42, creating lasting change, and how consistency and support drive sustainable results. This episode mainly focuses on having people in your corner that are there to help you when things get hard. It also talks about having habits in place that are setting you up for success so that when things get tough, your natural habits keep you afloat in a sustainable way. Episode 43 is Small Business Integrity, Nurturing Success Through Collaboration and Professionalism. This will be a really great episode for you to listen to if you do anything related to boutiques or pop-up shows or vendor booths or online markets, because this is the dynamic of working with a group of people and other vendors within your space. So that one actually came from somebody reaching out to me for help with some questions that she was experiencing in her pop-up shops, both in person and online. Episode 44, Accepting Observations from Those Who Know You Best and Finding Peace in Long-Term Transformation. This is a fantastic episode if you're like, who can I go to for safe feedback? Like, who knows me well enough that I can trust what they say because it's accurate, because we have a long history or a long relationship. So that one I encourage you to listen to. Also, if you have people in your life that you're like, hey, I want to thank you for being here, because you get more accurate information when people have more context and an idea of your history. Episode 45 is Planning Your Perfect and Profitable Retreat, and I talk about the retreat program that I'm working on. It is still not done, but it is still being worked on. There's a lot of information in there. So if you are in the retreat space at all, or want to be, or have thought about being, that's a really good episode for you to, you could literally listen to everything I say about that and put together a retreat outline just based on the topics that are in that program. And then, of course, if you want that program when it's available, just reach out to me. Episode 46 was a really fun one. It is my fall retreat mashup and recap. And the audio is me talking to different people throughout the duration of my 4-day retreat. So that one is really fun if you are like, what are even Marcy's retreats like? So that one is called Insights on Goals, Self-Improvement, and Staying Accountable. That was a really fun one to record. Episode 47 is The Power of Struggling Through Crisis, Facing Adversity and Staying Accountable. This one was prompted because I was hit with something really hard in my business, and it gave me that moment of like, okay, I'll just quit. I'm done with this, and I guess I'll just have to figure out something else with my life. So sometimes we do feel like that, and in that episode tell you what I do when I'm faced with adversity and how I can keep going. So that one's a really good one if you're like, everything is going wrong and I just am questioning myself. Episode 48, Reach Your Goals Faster by Utilizing These 10 Steps. That's a really cool one. I actually loved recording that one because I talk about a call I had with a potential client, and we break down her exact questions, and I help you recognize how the things that you want are actually within reach with just a couple of tweaks when you get some clarity on your business. Episode 49, Choosing Your Struggles, a Proactive Approach to Life. This one was a fun episode because half of the episode is a recording from 4 years ago on this concept that I've been teaching forever on choosing your struggles. So that's kind of like a blast from the past, but also proof that this concept of choosing your struggles is such a beneficial way to approach life. Episode 50, Hand in the Sand, Accepting and Rejecting Business Advice. This is an awesome episode for you if you're like, there's so much information out there and I'm not exactly sure what to execute on or how I should do it or if it's even right for me. So if you feel like you're an indecisive person or you struggle with analysis paralysis, like that would be a good episode for you to listen to get more clarity on how you should receive business advice or how you should reject it. Episode 51, Dreaming Big, How Becoming More Ambitious Leads to Better Outcomes. This one was a really fun episode for me to record, and I think you'll find it beneficial if you're like, I need a little bit more zeal or vigor about my goals, and I don't want to be afraid to set huge goals that I might fail at. And in that episode, I actually am pretty vulnerable with some of the recent goals that I've set and if I reached them or not. So that's a really fun one where you can feel safe in the decisions that you're making when it comes to goals in your business. And then episode 52, it's that beautiful number of like 52 weeks in a year, you guys. We've done it. This is the season recap. And I also want to tell you what's coming next for season 3, okay? First off, I'm not going to stop doing solo episodes because they are so much fun for me. So if you ever have topics that you're like, Marcy, can you go into depth about this, or I'm struggling with this, then I want to record an episode just for you. And of course, as a group of listeners, it's going to be beneficial. You're going to feel seen and heard and taken care of. And it's going to be very like Dear Abby sort of thing. So I'm excited for those ones. Also, something that we're continuing and doubling down on in season 3 is submission type episodes. So I want to pull in a lot of information so you get a very wide variety of what's happening in business. And this is really important because there is not one way to run a business. There is not one way to be accountable. There is not one way to reach your goals. And I feel like this stage or era, if you will, we are really leaning into community, and that's something that is really benefiting my life and my business right now, and I want that for everybody. So I want this podcast to feel more like a community where it's more interactive. And I know podcasting is kind of odd that you can't really just like talk back to me. Like, you have to go out of your way to send me a message to interact with me and this podcast. And I want to make it easier for you to do that. So stay tuned for some fun things coming. But overall, season 3, I want you to know if you have something that you want addressed or you need help with, like, book a call with me at marcybarker.com. We can talk about it. And I'm more than happy to turn something that you need into an in-depth podcast episode with other people chiming in to share some of this advice. And ultimately, you guys, your loving kick in the pants is about you taking action. So watch for calls to action in some of these podcasts and understand that I'm here for you as you take action and you put yourself first and you grow your business and run your life in a very smart and intentional way. So get ready, because next week we're diving into season 3, and I cannot thank you enough for being here. So review your paper that you took notes on and start diving into some of those episodes that are going to bring you value right now. I'll see you next week.
Hey friends, I want to thank you for listening to this episode of Your Loving Kick in the Pants. If you got any value out of this episode, I would love for you to drop me a review or share with a friend what you learned. All right, I'll see you next Wednesday for Your Loving Kick in the Pants.